All right, guys. And then there was two. I mentioned last week I had each one of you guys on my Chris on my Eastern Conference final prediction, Mike on my Western Conference, or not prediction, but preview for the match. And I said, hopefully, well, I will see one of you guys next week. And you guys are the final two. Inter Miami versus the Vancouver Whitecaps for the MLS Cup final. But which we'll talk about this a little bit later. This is not the first time that these guys have been playing in a big game this season, 2025. They all, played in a big game in the CONCACAF Champions Cup 2-leg match earlier this season. I'll start with Michael. Michael, you guys beat San Diego FC 3-1, dominating fashion. That was a statement win, man, because a lot of people were thinking maybe the travel might be a little difficult. San Diego has a good home crowd, and that they have been so good in 2025 and as an expansion team. But you guys go down to San Diego, punch them in the mouth, take you and book your ticket. You booked your ticket to the MLS Cup final in Miami. What were your thoughts about that game?
It was a game I think everyone thought was going to be closer than it turned out. But my big concern going into it was a makeshift backline and how that would be. But they needed to get out in the front foot early, and they did. And I'd raised concerns for San Diego that they had a young backline that's never played in a big game like that. And then they just got put to the sword early. And as soon as it went to 2-0, they looked shell-shocked, and it took them too long to try and get back into the game. And then the killer third before halftime was what really kind of was the nail in the coffin for them. But Jesper Sorensen went in with a game plan to take it to them, and he executed it, or the team executed it to perfection.
Hey, do us a favor. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you give us a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are 700 subscribers away from 12,000, and our goal is to hit that number by MLS Cup Final Day, which is less than a week away. So make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Now, back to the video. Yeah, also too, I thought they did a very good job of eliminating Anders Dreyer. He really could never get going in that match. Maybe that's a similar game plan we'll see for what they have against Inter Miami. But yeah, they did a great job. They had a very convincing win against a very formidable opponent in San Diego, obviously, and they earned it. I was a little nervous at first because San Diego did get some wind at like the 60th minute when they brought in Chucky Lozano. I thought they looked a little better, and we obviously saw what they did against LAFC, or what LAFC did against them in the second half. So, not to have any PTSD or anything, but you just kind of want to hold on to your seat and make sure that they were able to clinch the win.
Yeah, the difference between those two games is the players didn't follow the game plan against LA, partly because LA didn't let them, because they switched things up so much and they put more folk in the midfield. I mean, at 3-1, I was a little more nervous, but then the Whitecaps just got straight back at it, and they had chances to get a fourth. Then as soon as Cisniega gets sent off, I mean, that was it, done and dusted then, and you could kind of relax a little bit. But it was just every player knew what they had to do, and they just did it. And the pleasing aspect was the defensive side, because young Tate Johnson came in, and you thought, oh, maybe Dreyer's going to be kind of like manhandling him a little bit. Not in the slightest.
No, I agree. I think they did a great job. Their game plan worked effectively. Take Dry out of the game, and I think that you essentially take the head off the snake, right? I think that that's exactly their game plan. It worked effectively. Chris, Inter Miami beat New York City FC in dominating fashion. You were a little bit more bullish on that game than I was. I thought it would be a little bit closer, but man, they dominated, and your team is going to advance to the MLS Cup final, which people were hoping would happen in 2024. But hey, it's better late than never.
Yes, absolutely. Better late than never, and as late as it could be in terms of Fort Lauderdale, right? Because it's going to be the last game held at Dry Pink Stadium. I'm not going to say the CH word. Look, at the end of the day, Inter Miami is on fire at the moment, and the fact of the matter is that I mean, look, a lot of people don't like it because Inter Miami has a bunch of big names, but at this point, I think that the way that things are feeling right now, it feels like there's nothing that's going to stop Inter Miami. but Vancouver is a hell of an opponent. As far as like talking about the NYCFC game, I feel like the fan base and everyone kind of assumed that we were going to win. And so much for people thinking I don't have no ball knowledge. I called 4-1 and we won 5-1. Okay. So you can take ball knowledge 101 and so other than that, honestly, I think that we did a phenomenal job against a team that we were supposed to beat, that had their best player out. And I mean, look, NYCFC, good try. You know, you gave it your best. And look, shout out to NYCFC. They went further than they expected. So they put up a good performance against Inter Miami, as good as they could, right? With missing important pieces. But Inter Miami was just too much for them. Tadeo Allende put up a hattie on NYCFC, and he's grinding right now better than ever. Fan base, you asked them 3 months ago about Tadeo Allende, they'd want to ship him off anywhere in the country, in the world. But now, keep him here. People are wanting to sign him. He's amazing. As long as he's in this form, I don't see anything stopping him for sure.
No, I thought Tadeo
And that's
Allende,
aside from talking about the guy named Messi.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know, Tadeo Allende had his best game of the season against New York City FC, and he had a good game the prior game against Cincinnati. He had a brace. He's got 5 goals in the last 2 matches. It's funny, Chris, you know, all the fans of Inter Miami always get pissed off at Tadeo Allende. They're like, oh my God, he's got so many chances. If the guy could finish, he'd have 30 goals in the league. Now we're seeing what he would do when he is efficient at scoring goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you were to look back at all of the attempts that he had, I mean, look, you have the greatest of all time that kicks a ball around, passing him the ball. And the fact of the matter is he did have a lot of opportunities that he didn't put in the back of the net. Fans saw it. I mean, you don't need a keen eye to see it. You're not putting it in the back of the net from the greatest of all time passing it to you. Now you are. It matters. That's fun. You're giving us points, and we're proceeding because of that. So I'll take it.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. I don't think Messi had a bad game, but he just didn't have a Messi game. And it didn't matter. They still were able to dominate that match. And I think that kind of points to what you're saying about why they're so dangerous right now is they didn't need him to, and they still put up 5 goals. I feel like Mascherano found the magic sauce of what works and what makes his team go right now.
Messi had the Shaq effect. For those of you that watch basketball, right? Shaquille O'Neal, even without the ball, brings 2-3 defenders towards him. And the entire team has to like formulate a plan in order to do this. You're leaving other people that are open and capable of scoring. Same thing here. Messi, the places where he puts himself into, although he doesn't have the ball, are dangerous to a defense. So that's kind of in reality. I think this last game, the fact that Messi didn't have the ball that much and we still had that much success is even scarier than if he was to have had the ball.
No, I agree. I want to ask you guys this question because I did a video about it yesterday before we get into your guys' like breaking down this match and the verses. I said yesterday that I think this is the biggest MLS Cup in history. And I'm talking even about from a perspective, marketability, because you got Messi versus Müller. And some people kind of try to downplay that. But if we're being honest, guys, we want to see a great game on the pitch. But we do know that the infancy of MLS, that names do kind of get the average person to draw in and watch the game. And everyone knows who Lionel Messi is, and everyone knows who Thomas Müller is, and they're going to watch it. So, Mike, I want to ask you first. I know you've been following the Whitecaps for a very long time, but and I'm sure you've watched a lot of MLS Cups in your time. But just from a perception point of view, like, is this the biggest MLS Cup of all time?
I mean, it is. If you've got Messi in it, it is. I mean, there's no getting away from that. I've only been at one before. I went down to Seattle when it was Seattle TFC a few years back. This is nothing on that. It's like, this is just 2 big superstars of the world game. And both of them probably aren't going to be the players that we're talking about at the final whistle for either side, if we're being honest. And it's got this gravitas about it. Factor in things like you've got 2 other great players that's retiring, maybe even 3 if Suárez decides to hang his boots up as well. So that you've got those storylines. You've got probably everybody outside of Miami wanting Vancouver to win this because they don't like Miami spent money and how things work around the world, to be honest. It's a huge game. The thing that kind of takes away from it, I think, though, the World Cup draw the day before, there's so much attention on that. And I don't even know if there's going to be as many media that would be at this MLS Cup that you would get normally if the World Cup draw wasn't in Washington the day before it.
Yeah, I do think that, to your point about maybe that's not the players we'll be talking about at the end of the game. The great thing about it is that they're going to be able to draw in so many casual people just to tune in and see, hey, this is actually really good quality. These are two very good teams playing for a trophy. That's what I'm most excited about, is they're going to get the opportunity to showcase the league because of who's playing in it. Where in other years it's a good game, but maybe people aren't going to afford them that opportunity to watch the match and give it a chance. So that's what I'm happy about most. But I do think that the World Cup draw could affect it. But one thing I will say too before I get to Chris, I am happy it's earlier in the day, because there's a lot of college football championship games on that day that you don't want to compete with. The SEC, the Big 12, ACC, Big 10. Now this is going to be earlier, so it's kind of going to be in its own little window. And also, you're going to get the European people to watch, because it's going to start at 8:30 in the UK. I think 9:30 in Germany. So that's going to get you a lot more viewers, I think, in that window. Now, Chris, obviously you haven't been watching, MLS for 20 years, but Messi, Müller. Like, this is a huge game. Is it the biggest in MLS history?
Well, and I just want to preface this by saying I did watch like MLS Cups every so often before becoming a fan, just by, happenstance. Danny and I in our show, we actually looked and saw which one of the MLS Cups were the highest viewed or the more popular. And the highest viewed MLS Cup was the Philadelphia versus LAFC. Now, Gareth Bale, ended up scoring at the end of the game, and he didn't even play that many minutes. Now, I don't know if I said the name correctly, but whatever.
Yeah,
I'll move past it. Okay, so now at the end of the day, it's like what you said, Michael. We have Messi. Look, I mentioned this also. This is WWE writing at its finest. If MLS puts together a team to pitch this, you got Messi versus Müller. They've had experience playing with each other, not just through clubs, but through country. You also have the aspect, Michael, like you mentioned, where Jordi Alba and Busquets are retiring. They've also had matchups with Müller. You have Luis Suárez, who, he'll come back for like a Happy Meal, but possibly he might retire. Now, all of that, you could write this script and write this perfectly to pitch this. And one thing I wanted to add is you have a lot of international fans who literally hate the MLS and America, but because it's Messi and Müller, and they're used to that sort of quality from the past, to say, you know what? I think I might check out the MLS this week. I might watch the MLS Cup and actually give it an opportunity. And out of 10,000 people that watch, if you get 1,000 of those fans, that's a win in my book. So there's a lot riding on it, but I do think clearly that this is going to be the biggest MLS Cup, not just up until now, but like possibly in the future, because I don't think that anyone is going to match Messi and his stature in this game. And Müller is a big player too. So I got to give him his respect as well.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, I believe
Don't forget Berhalter either.
Yeah, exactly. I think that MLS is going to release these numbers because they're going to be so big. They're going to want to plaster them everywhere. They're going to be like, this is how many people tuned in on Apple TV to watch this match. So I think we will get numbers, guys. I think that they will tell us, they will say them loud and proud, and how many there were watching this game. And then there's going to be on Fox as well. Now, Michael, as far as this game, I mentioned earlier that we had seen these two teams play each other in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Vancouver had won the first leg at Vancouver 2-0. And I remember at the time, a lot of people said, well, Inter Miami had to travel 3,000 miles. They had to play on turf. All these factors into the game, and that they were going to play better when they go back to Miami. Well, they actually conceded more goals when they played back in Miami. They lost that 3-1. How confident are you? I'll get your prediction later, but how confident are you in this matchup for against Miami for Vancouver? Because you have beaten them twice before in big games already this year.
I'm confident going into it, but not necessarily based on the previous game, if that makes sense. I think what Vancouver's got that Cincinnati didn't, NYC didn't, is we're not going to give up as much space at the back as those two teams gave up. And that is crucial. First goal in this is going to be massive. If the Whitecaps can get it, they'll kind of ride that a little bit. And they tend to get, if they get one early, they get a second early. I don't know that Miami are going to go like gung-ho at the start of the game. So I think the Whitecaps will try and do what they did in San Diego, control the ball, get the early breakthrough. If they get it, whole different game. If Miami score first, it's going to be tough. If Miami get a 2-goal lead, I don't see us coming back from that, to be honest. This is a totally different Miami side from the teams that met in April and May. Back then, the Whitecaps were a team, whereas Miami looked like a bunch of talented individuals that couldn't quite link up properly and were relying so much on Messi. And as Chris has said, now you don't need to rely so much on Messi because the supporting cast has now suddenly come through. My hope is that, and I don't think Mascherano will do this for a minute, but my hope would be, they focus on Thomas Müller. Because anyone that's watched the Whitecaps games in this playoff run, Müller's been there, he's directing, but he's not the one that's most involved in the goals or the plays, and it's the other players. So I'm kind of hoping a few of them go under the radar. The big matchup for me is, can they stop Jordi Alba tearing up the wing? And you've got a guy in Andrés Cubas that can definitely break those plays up. But the problem is he's going to be on Messi. So if you take him away from Messi and you get the ball off Alba, Messi's then free. But if you can stop Alba and get the long ball forward to like a Sabi or an Ahmed or one of the subs as well, there's going to be spaces. I think this Miami defense is there for the taking against fast players. I think this is going to be a shootout. I could see this being a high-scoring game.
No, I agree with you. I was actually about to say I don't want to give my prediction yet, but I think this is going to be one for the record books as far as how many goals are scored. And I agree. Anytime Inter Miami, and I'll get to you, Chris, on this because you obviously know this. Inter Miami has struggled when they play pacey wingers. Mm-hmm. Ahmed and Sabi have been great, and we saw them how effective they've been in this playoff run for Vancouver. I do worry about Inter Miami's fullbacks trying to cover them with and Jordi Alba, as good as he is on the wing and the attack, I don't know if he's going to be able to defend. I don't know if he's going to be able to defend Sabi. I mean, I think his pace is going to give him trouble on the right wing. So we'll see how that plays out. But Chris, Inter Miami, we talked about how they did lose on aggregate 5-1 to Vancouver. Now these two teams are different. Little bit the same, but also different. There's been some additions to each side. How confident are you that, or can Inter Miami redeem themselves in this MLS Cup Final after their CONCACAF Champions Cup debacle?
I think that the fact that Javier Mascherano grew a pair in the playoffs and sat Luis Suárez for an 18-year-old Matteo Silvetti and has ridden that wave, and it's been cohesive, that group, I feel like at this point, very confident with that. But I'm going to tell you where my confidence is a little bit simmering down is because lately what we've seen is when we've taken out players like Noah Allen, who's a center back, whether he's because he's playing poorly or whatever injury, Busquets ends up playing center back. That's kind of scary. Because Busquets is not Busquets of Barcelona. Busquets is Busquets who's retiring, right? His mind is on another level than any other player in the MLS at this point. But can his body be able to keep up with the players, right? You mentioned Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba is effective on offense. He's also great on defense if he catches up on time, right? But But Savi doesn't scare me as much as Ali Ahmed scares me, because in our right back position, we had Ian Frey, who's solid on both offense and defense. But since he got injured playing against Jamaica, now Marcelo Weigant has been filling in for him at the starting role at the right back. That's where I really believe it's key in terms of on the attack. In terms of defense, Cubas is going to stay on Messi, I believe, Michael, most of the time. And I think that's probably the smartest bet.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if Busquets stays in his role and position, Busquets is probably going to be the number one key in this game. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but the first goal that we scored was literally a pass by Busquets that just Hail Married over the entire team. And this guy, Tadeo Allende, could have caught that with a bread basket. So it was amazing. And if that happens, then there may be some problems.
Well, my next question is going to be an X factor. I want to start with you, Chris, because you just mentioned Sergio Busquets.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Noah Allen he's a little volatile. Like, he can play decent sometimes and he can be really erratic. You really never know what you're going to get with him. And he still is kind of young. But
yes,
when Sergio Busquets does switch back to center back and they bring in normally like Yannick Bright off the bench, the one thing I will say about Sergio Busquets is they do play the ball out of the back a lot better because he's a way better passer than Noah Allen. So they can get the attack going a little bit better with him back there. Also, he gives you a little bit of size. Now, I know he's a rail. He probably weighs 150 pounds soaking wet. But he does give you a little bit of height, especially on crosses and stuff, or back there, like able to win some balls. I do think that's better because Noah Allen's like, 5'8". So I think Brian White's going to be very physical with Noah Allen in this game.
Well, I'm not afraid of that because we just played against Cincy where Denke looks like a brick house, and he fared pretty well against Denke. Noah Allen did. As far as look, Brian White is a great player, and in the beginning he was destroying the MLS. At some point there was this ups and downs, ebbs and flows with Brian White. He just returned, if I'm not mistaken, Michael, he just returned from an injury, right? So as far as I'm aware, and we're talking X factors here, Noah Allen, the reason that he's so great in that position is because naturally he plays left back. But Jordi Alba has had this chemistry with him where he feels comfortable enough to push high up because he knows Noah Allen's got his back. Busquets, the reason I mentioned him as the X factor is because Messi's going to be pretty occupied with Cubas. You got Jordi Alba that's going to be occupied by everybody else on the right-hand side of Vancouver. So Busquets is going to have a little bit more flexibility to be able to work with. That's why I think he's going to be truly the X factor, because I mean, Allende and Matteo Silvetti, it's very simple: score goals, do your job. But Busquets, it's like a completely different nature of football that he's playing. So he is actually, like, in my opinion, the X factor for sure for this team.
No, I agree with that. I do think, everyone's going to say Messi's the X factor, but I think Busquets, it's the guys other than Messi who's got to do things if they want to win, right?
We all breathe Messi's air, right? I mean, that's what it is. Very simple.
Michael, obviously there's a lot of great players on this Vancouver Whitecaps teams, a lot of underrated players. Cubas doesn't get nearly the respect he deserves, and he is arguably the best midfielder, I think, in MLS. He's not scoring goals or anything, but the dirty work he does, man, he controls the game. He is so important to this team and what they've done in 2025. Who do you think is the biggest X factor for Vancouver if they want to win this game against Miami?
On Cubas, first of all, the two games against Miami, he handled Messi so well, and he's done it for Paraguay as well. So if he just keeps doing what he's doing, it takes Messi a little bit out of the game, as much as you can take Messi out of a game. I still think Alba going forward and leaving that potential space to run onto is a big possibility for the Whitecaps. So Eddie Campo at right back could be a huge one here. And the reason I've got positives and negatives for that as to why he's the X factor. He takes a card very easily because he goes in hard and he has flailing arms and various things like that, which Alba's going to go down at the slightest touch if anything hits his face. So you know that
Pure theatrics on that side.
Yeah, there's going to be theatrics from both of them because Ocampo also, the slightest thing he goes down, he's rolling around 10 times and you think, oh my God, he's dead. And then he's back up again. So I love it when it's a player on your team doing it. And obviously when it's not, you hate it. But those two are going to go at it up and down that wing. And it's whoever gets the better of that. I still think that if Ocampo can get the ball off Alba, send it forward to Sabi, Sabi will get in on goal, either score himself or centre it for White. So I think that side is the key for me.
So my X factor for Inter Miami is Tadeo Allende. And the reason I say that is because he's been so good these last couple of games. They need him to continue to do that. He's got to be the X factor, creating chances, finishing chances, helping Messi out, widen the game. I feel like if the game is played completely through the midfield, that's going to hurt Inter Miami. That's going to hurt them. They got to spread the game out. They got to use their wingers effectively, Matteo Silvetti and also Tadeo Allende. So I think he's got to keep his hot streak going if they want to win this game. And on the Vancouver side, it's a little tough for me, Michael. I want to say Takaoka because he has been so great in goal. And I feel like anytime Inter Miami struggles, it's when there's great goalkeeping play. And that's exactly what he's done. But on the flip side, I also think Brian White needs to have a big game because anytime you need him to put pressure on that back line, even if the wingers are giving the Inter Miami fullbacks trouble all day, Brian White needs to be effective. We saw Denke not score against Inter Miami. We saw Sam Sturridge for Nashville SC get eliminated. Obviously New York City FC couldn't do anything. We need to see Brian White step up and be effective, kind of like he was in this last game. He needs to be a difference maker up top. So it's hard for me to pick which one. I think I would probably lean towards Brian White because that would be the one difference. Inter Miami has done a very good job of eliminating the opposing team striker.
The thing with White, though, is he's still getting up to full match fitness. Now, the fact he went the whole game was great in San Diego. He only had 2 shots on target. Yes, they both went in, which is clinical. So you kind of want that from your striker. But he needs to have a big game. And he did the last time down there. That first goal, the away goal that he got, that finish was sublime. Outside of the foot, perfectly placed into the bottom corner. He needs to do that again. And with Takaoka, my worry for him is he's not great at free kicks. And then you're going up against Messi, that is great at free kicks. And you saw it with the goal that Son scored. Was an absolute cracker. I don't know many keepers would have stopped that, but he needs to have a big game, and he did in that game in May. He came up with a couple of big saves. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting storylines in this.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
It's interesting you mentioned Tadeo Allende. Tadeo Allende in the regular season, I believe, had 10 goals. In the playoffs, he's had 8. He's tied for the record, and he just had a hat trick. Like, he had 8 goals up until the 33rd game of the regular season. After that, he got 2 more goals, but he had a cold streak in the middle, in a chunk in the beginning and then the middle of the season. Like I said, he's on fire right now. So to put him as an X factor, I can agree with it, because of just the simple fact that, hey, you've been carrying forward in this manner this whole time. Let's see if you can keep it up for the final game that actually matters.
No, I agree.
We couldn't remember if he actually played in those 2 Champions Cup games. We had to look it up because we're like, I don't remember this guy at all, which says a lot
about how he played. No, I agree.
That says a lot. Yeah, for sure.
So let's get to the predictions of what you guys actually think is going to happen. We'll start off with Chris. Chris, Inter Miami is hosting this game. And I have one bonus question for you, too, because you tweeted about this match. But as far as predictions, Inter Miami is hosting this MLS Cup. Vancouver has to travel the furthest distance of any MLS team. They're the 2 furthest teams from each other in the entire league. What do you think is going to happen in this game? What's the score going to be?
So you want my prediction? I'm just gonna give it to you. I think it's gonna be 4-3. I want goals and more goals, and I feel like it's gonna be tied throughout the game. I feel like this is going to be a very sticky game. Like I don't feel like it's going to be I don't feel like it's going to be very messy, no pun intended, or all pun intended. But I think at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is we're going to score the last goal in regular time and we're going to win 4-3.
Wow, 4-3. That'd be a hell of a game. I think all of us, maybe not agree with the final score line, but that would be a great, entertaining match nonetheless. If there's 7 goals in the MLS Cup Final, Michael, what is your score prediction? Who's going to win this game?
I think it's goals as well. I'm going with Vancouver 3-2. I think we get an early goal. I think we can get to about 3-1, and then Miami's going to get 3-2, and it's going to be the most stressful last, however, for a Whitecaps perspective. I've been through that with LA. I've been through that with Scotland qualifying for the World Cup. I'm not sure at my old age I can handle that anymore, but it's not going to be an easy. It's not going to be an easy game for either team. If it's a blowout for either side, and you're kind of thinking Miami, if it's going to be a blowout, I'd be stunned by that because it doesn't. We've not been blown away all season, but if any team's going to do it, it's this Miami side.
No, I agree. I think this is going to be an instant classic, and I think it plays in the part of me saying this is the biggest game in MLS history, and it will deliver on that title. And this is going to be something we talk about for years to come, right? This is going to be a crucial, crucial game. If someone gets blown out, I'd be very surprised because I think these are the 2 best teams all year round. Even in the regular season, they obviously had some bumps and bruises and spells where they didn't play as well. But these are the 2 teams from start to finish that were just good and played great ball the entire season. So I'm happy to see both of them be rewarded. Real quick bonus question for Chris, and then Michael, I'd like you to chime in on this as well. What do you think about this whole season ticket holder fiasco where they're not letting the fans be able to buy their seats at the game, man?
Well, I mean, it's a complete travesty. I'm a season ticket holder along with my co-host. I thought it was going to be included in the package, but it wasn't. Supposedly, MLS has full carte blanche over the entire ticket inventory. We started doing our digging, and we found out not only did LA Galaxy in previous MLS Cups be given their season ticket seat, but then we found out that Vancouver just a week or 2 ago sent an email to their support season ticket holders saying, if we host NYCFC, we're locking your seat up. It's yours, right?
Yep.
So how can there's recent precedents where you have proof that one organization can guarantee your seat, but then the other one says it's on MLS? Just doesn't make any sense. It's not consistent. And it was a complete bleep show yesterday, the season ticket sales. We couldn't, as season ticket holders, get tickets at the time that the window opened, and they opened the window on 3 different occasions. And so by the time, I don't know if you've seen the tickets now, but they are like a gajillion dollars. There's only 3 sections that don't have any seats, and it seems like those 3 sections, which are actually to the side of our normal seats, where I think they're holding it off for the Vancouver fans.
Yeah, we have 3 sections.
Yes. So I imagine that if you guys haven't planned, maybe you guys have planned, but there are 3 sections just waiting for you guys.
Yeah,
the tickets have sold out. Like, we've sold out our allocation.
Wow, that's amazing. That's going to be fantastic.
They travel well. I think the Whitecaps travel because they had a lot of fans in Mexico, I think, for the cruise. I think they had a decent amount for the Cruz Azul game.
Yeah, we had 800 down in Mexico.
That's good, honestly. That's not bad.
It's funny because in that last, CCC game, I went to that game, and there were a lot more Vancouver fans than normal. I mean, obviously, they're traveling from the other corner of the entire continent, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I was actually surprised that the outing that Vancouver FC fans had, I figured I think they're going to show out. And when I saw 3 sections opened up for them, I said, oof, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say real quick, though, to finish this off, it is sad in a sense because they tell you that you get to host the MLS Cup Final for your record, but then they kind of screw their fans over and don't let them have an easy opportunity to buy their tickets that they paid for all season. So that's why I wish it was a neutral site, because then you would obviously have, and I'm not talking about a small stadium. There's a lot of things they could do, but you would have both, parties, both teams be able to buy more tickets, and they'd be more accessible, and it would make more sense. But it feels like the season ticket holder is the one who's being punished for this.
Well, and I'll give you my opinion. Honestly, I think that Chase Stadium is the only stadium where it should have been played. Next year, we're going to be getting actual in Miami proper, Miami Freedom Park. And the fact that this is the last game that will be played in Broward County at Chase Stadium, I feel like it wouldn't be fair to allocate this to the season ticket members, especially the people that purchased them in 2019, the day one people, because a lot of those people aren't going to be renewing to Miami-Dade proper. So I think this is a perfect fitting to end the season at, best stadium that you can be able to end it at. I just feel like Inter Miami and MLS did a terrible job at facilitating this for their truest of fans. Unfortunately, a lot of fans are sticking around because of Messi, but when Messi leaves, I really am weary about how the stadium is going to look when Messi decides to retire and no longer play in pink.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Guys, I appreciate both of you coming on. Real quick, Michael, where can the people find your work at and find your podcast at?
Easiest place, aftn.ca. It's got all our podcasts and written stuff on there. We've kind of shied more away from the written stuff this year. So yeah, all the podcasts are up there, aftn.ca.
And Chris, where can the people find yours and Danny's podcast at?
Sure, you can find us on Battered Herons podcast. We also do it in Spanish called Las Garzas, and you can be able to check us out there, and Battered MLS, and all kinds of other stuff. So just look up Battered Fans and you'll find us.
Guys, I appreciate both of you for giving your time. Good luck to both your clubs. Let the better team win. Hopefully it's an instant classic like we're all anticipating. If it is, we're all in for a great treat. I appreciate everyone who listened to the show. Go watch the game. Enjoy it. It's going to be a classic. And until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.